prematurely, which meant that we were not able to get the coordinates and time of the impact independent of our own measurements. Nevertheless, we could locate it fairly well from the two near stations, 12 and 14, which made it a useful impact at the greater range up to station 15. And we're looking at those signals now. I think we can say that this peculiarly high velocity mantle, as we called it, that we had found in the 12 and 14 region can't be a global feature unless it is exceedingly thin, a thin slab of this high velocity stuff. The signals we got, and I must say this, that there's always the uncertainty that we really didn't see the first arrival up there because it was at 1,100 kilometers, and the first signal you see is quite weak. There's always the uncertainty as to whether or not it is the fastest traveling wave in the moon and not something else. But if it is, then this very high velocity material that we called mantle is not global or an exceedingly thin layer. It looks as though we get velocities approaching 8 kilometers per second at depths of the moon of the order of 100 kilometers, not 9 kilometers per second as we had in the 12 and 14 region. There's also very weak evidence from that signal, and I haven't convinced my colleagues of this yet, nor myself really, but the possibility of a reflection from a very deep interface, perhaps 550 kilometers deep, is there, and we're looking for ways to see whether or not that can be verified. In other words, a primitive core perhaps or some other reflector at very great depth. So this impact will, I think, provide very, very useful data despite the loss of tracking. We would have been, of course, much better off had we been able to photograph that impact area, and I understand that the curtailed time in orbit precluded that. Is that right, Drew? We did not photograph that S4B. Yeah. The deployment was good. I think the pictures tell the story. As far as I'm concerned, the instrument does get hot during a lunar day, as the other instruments have. This has been the case in every one. I think it's a matter of it's just not possible to keep dust off of that shroud, I think, when you have to work that close to it. And that degrades the thermal control some. It does not degrade the seismic data. It simply means the controllers have more work to do trying to maintain the thermal stability. And it's a problem we faced in every one of the missions, so it's not. In fact, I thought the deployment, the configuration of the shroud that I saw and so on looked very, very good. There's one little place where it's raised up is where the cable comes out underneath. It's turned on its edge a little bit, and that, of course, is something of a heat loss, but it's not serious at all.
Yeah, we patted that rascal down because of the 15 problems, but maybe it's before a guy leaves that ALSEP site, if he's got a problem like it. Maybe is ALSEP on 17? Probably it's not, is it?
ALSEP is on the seismic.
The seismic, okay, well. Those rascally things assume some different kind of orientation than they did before we left, and maybe you ought to go back one more time and make sure those things haven't changed. Don't ask me. I think maybe they outgas a little and then take up a different shape.
Well, it's not only your near activities. I think when we saw that TV picture degrade on Lem Ascent, it's obvious that a lot of debris is being thrown around, and you just can't avoid a good dusting down from that source. So our carefully prepared thermal surfaces act more like black bodies than anybody figured on.